Dear students, welcome to the third part. The first two parts video link it is given in the description, and this is purely an exam oriented video. ഇതിനകത്ത് ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ വിശദീകരിക്കുന്നില്ല. വരുന്ന ബോർഡ് എക്സാമിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി മാത്രം 3 മാർക്ക് 5 മാർക്ക് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു എളുപ്പം എന്നുള്ള രൂപത്തിലാണ് ഈ വീഡിയോകൾ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. സോ ദിസ് ഇസ് പ്യുവർലി an exam oriented video. So we can look the next question. The question is, it is clearly given in the textbook. There is a statement: tremble therefore, tyrants of the world, tremble before the virtual writer. Tyrants means the despotic rulers. Despotic rulers or autocratic rulers are fearing the writers. Why? That is a statement. So the first point is, by the mid-18th century, there was a common conviction, that is belief, that books were a means of spreading progress and enlightenment. By reading the books, we can spread the progress and enlightenment. And also many believed that books could change the world, liberate society from despotism and tyranny. One of the examples for that, Louis Sebastian Mercier, a novelist in the 18th century France. He declared, "The printing press, it is the most powerful engine of progress, and public opinion is the force that will sweep despotism away." So by reading this type of books, the people will act against despotic rulers. That is why the autocratic rulers, the tyrants, feared about the books or feared about the writings of the famous writers. One example is Louis Sebastian Mercier. He is a novelist in the France in the 18th century. And what is his opinion? The printing press is the most powerful engine of progress, and public opinion is the force that will sweep despotism away. The next point, in many of Mercier's novels, the heroes are transformed by acts of reading. So if anybody is reading the books of Mercier, automatically he will transform as a hero. They devour books, are lost in the world books create, and become enlightened in the process. By reading the books, they may be changed into that world, and they may be act accordingly. That was the thing in that book. They immediately read the books, and within one sitting, they immediately read the books. That is, they devour books. With one sitting, they will read entirely the novel. In that way, that books are written. So such a kind of things are there. And those who are reading, they lost their real world, and they may be transformed into another world, and they are going to act as heroes. Then Mercier proclaimed that, "Tremble therefore, tyrants of the world, tremble before the virtual writer." So this is the answer of that question. Why the despotic rulers feared about the virtual writer. Then the second question, print did not directly shape their minds, but it did open up the possibility of thinking differently. So what is the influence of the famous philosophers? That is the question. So print did not directly shape the people's minds, but it opened up the possibility of thinking differently. Explain. So the first point, many historians have argued that print culture created the condition within which French Revolution occurred. So the print, the books, after the coming of the print revolution, by reading the books, it also influenced the French Revolution. There are 3 types of arguments for that. What is the first argument? The first argument, print popularized the ideas of the Enlightenment thinkers and critical commentary on tradition, superstition, and despotism. So these Enlightenment thinkers began to write or began to criticize on tradition, superstition, and despotism. For example, the writings of Voltaire and Rousseau were read widely at that time. The next point, the second argument, print created a new culture of dialogue and debate to question existing ideas and beliefs. By reading the books, it created a new culture. It gave an opportunity for dialogue and debate, and also to question the existing ideas and beliefs. That is the second argument. The third argument, by the 1780s, there was an outpouring of literature that mocked the royalty and criticized their morality. So by 1718, there were so many books it printed, it published, and through that book, the royal kings, they were mocked and also criticized their morality. For that purpose, so many cartoons and caricatures typically suggested that the monarchy, that means the kings, remained absorbed only in sensual pleasures while the common people suffered immense hardships. So through cartoons and caricatures, very simply it portrayed that the monarchies, they are living in a luxurious life. At the same time, the common people, they are suffering immense hardship. So this is the answer of that question. Print did not directly shape their minds, but it did open up the possibility of thinking differently. Otherwise, what is the influence of the Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and about the French Revolution? It also influenced by the readers. Then another question, the third question. The 19th century, there were a large numbers of new readers among children, women, and workers. Explain. There are so many books written for children, women, and workers. Which are they? First of all, we can look what are the major books published for children. How the books began to publish for children. The first point for children, as primary education became compulsory from the late 19th century, children became an important category of readers. How the children became an important category? Because of the compulsory of primary education in Europe for the first time in the 19th century. So after the primary education became compulsory, some school textbooks are needed. So production of school textbooks became critical for the publishing industry. For this purpose, for producing the school textbooks and such books for the children, a children's press devoted to literature for children alone was set up in France for the first time in 1857. So the first press for the children, it was set up in France in 1857. And one of the another press, especially for children, that was the Grimm brothers in Germany. So these are the things for the children. Now look in the next. Women. Women became important as readers as well as writers. During this time, women also became readers as well as writers. Then which are the things for the books for the women? Penny magazines were especially meant for women, as were manuals teaching proper behavior and housekeeping. So for the first time, the books for women came, that is as penny magazines. And it is a manual that teaching proper behavior and housekeeping. And at that time, some of the best known novelists were women. For example, Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, and George Eliot. The name of their writings was A Person with Will, Strength of Personality, Determination, and the Power to Think. So these are the major topics or themes of the writers of women. Then the next, which are the books for the workers? How the workers got the chance to read the books? First one, lending libraries had been in existence from the 17th century onwards. So the workers can go to the lending libraries and can access the books to read. So first one, lending libraries. In the 19th century, lending libraries in England became instruments for educating white-collar workers, artisans, and lower middle-class people. So this type of various sections of categories also can access the lending libraries in the 19th century in England. Sometimes self-educated working-class people also wrote books for themselves. So these are the things for the workers. So this is the answer of the large numbers of new readers such as children, women, and workers, how they got the chance to read the books and which are the books published for the children, women, and workers. Now the fourth question in this video, what are the major innovations in printing press and publishing markets? What are the major innovations in printing press? So that we can classify it into two. The printing press, what are the changes happen, and in the producing of books, that is the publishing market, which are the innovations done at that time. So in printing press, which are the major innovations? By the late 18th century, the press came to be made out of metal. So out of metal, that was the, instead of wood block printing, from there may be a change. That is the press came to be made out of metal. That is the first innovation. Then the second innovation, by the mid 19th century, Richard M. Ho of New York had perfected the power-driven cylindrical press. That is the second innovation by Richard M. Ho. The name of the method, the system, the power-driven cylindrical press. What is the features of power-driven cylindrical press? This was capable of printing 8,000 sheets per hour. This press was particularly useful for printing newspapers. So this is the major innovation. The second major innovation happened. And the third innovation, in the late 19th century, the offset press was developed that could print up 6 colors at a time. So the third innovation, offset press. What is the peculiarity of that? It can print up to 6 colors at a time. And the fourth innovation, in the 20th century, electrically operated presses accelerated printing operations. And the major features of electrically operated presses: methods of feeding paper, automatic paper reels, and photoelectric controls of the color register were introduced. So these are the major 4 innovations made out of metal, power-driven cylindrical press, and electrically operated press, and offset press. These are the major 4 innovations in the printing technology. Now the producing of books, which are the major innovations? That is the publication. In the publication method, what are the innovations done? In the 19th century, periodicals serialized in important novels into face-to-face manner, that is serialized way, the periodicals began to publish. That is the first innovation, serialization of periodicals. Second one, in the 1920s in England, popular works were sold in cheap series called the shilling series. So cheap cost books, it is known as shilling series. That is the second innovation in the publication. Then the third innovation, that is the dust cover, a cover for the books. A dust cover or the book jacket is also a 20th century innovation. Then during the 1930s, at that time, there was a Great Depression. At that time, the publishers feared a decline in book purchases. To overcome this, they introduced cheap paperback editions, very low cost books they published. That is the cheap paperback editions. So these are the major innovations in the publication market. Serialization of periodicals. Second one, cheap series. It is also known as shilling series. And the next one, the dust cover or book jacket. The next one, during the Great Depression, cheap paperback editions. So these are the major innovations in the publishing market. So the first part of the chapter, how the print come into Europe, in that part is over. Okay, thank you.